Go, 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 go!
Everybody get down!
Zeus, satellite 1A, approaching London.
Coordinates live and loaded. Awaiting drop authorization. Satellite 1A, we have remote launch authorization.
3, 2, 1, drop.
You have to answer for this.
with so many people making predictions on when the apocalypse will happen or the rapture, many people get turned off when they see these videos because often they'll make predictions on a date, and when it doesn't happen, then they discount the entire thing. And of course, I think this is by design if you think about it. I think some of these people often unwittingly get into this whole prediction thing. Oh, it's on this day or that day. In reality, what we do have here, though, is we have signs of what is actually occurring in the heavens. September 23rd, 2017, we had the Revelation 12 sign. This is an actual sign that occurred. It happened one time. It's predicted in Revelation 12. Now, we also had the moons in 2015. We also had the Bethlehem star as well, which happened one time before in the past at Christ's birth. So we have a sign back here in 2015, the four moon triad and the Bethlehem star, which occurred only one time in the past. And then we also had the Revelation 12 sign last year, almost a year ago, which marks essentially when the devil would come down. Of course, I've done a lot of videos covering this topic of recent, and with the devil coming down to earth and causing chaos. And we can see in our culture, things are getting very strange, all right? So, but the thing is, though, is a lot of people get turned off by all this because people make predictions based on these celestial signs, and then when nothing happens on the specific date they say it's going to happen, then everybody's like, oh, this is garbage, this is hogwash. In reality, though, the devil's the one who maybe created or put this thought in their head, hey, this is the day, you know? And then they make a video predicting it being whatever on this specific day. And this is sort of a method to turn people off to the entire topic. Well, clearly, this is something that can be established very obviously, is that the Bible says that things that happen in the heavens are for times and seasons. So when we have these very rare events in the heavens that are even prophesied in Scripture, it tells you that something's happening. Okay, something big is happening. Then you have the Revelation 12 sign, which never happened before. It's literally spoken of in Revelation 12. It's talking about the devil being cast down to earth to start causing even more problems because he knows his time is short. Well, how short is this time? Of course, a lot of people, oh, the rapture is going to happen on this day. But in reality, this was when the devil was cast down. So obviously he has a time frame. And it's very ironic that our president has the same last name as what we see here. All right, so I just find that to be very interesting. And perhaps if he's in for 2 terms, it would fit about this time frame. Now the question is, what is this time frame? Of course, obviously we have yet another person here, and I'm going to show you in a minute, who's predicting that this is for the rapture.
The time frame that marks the end of the age. Like I said, it starts with an eclipse and it ends with an eclipse. A 7-year period. 7, the number of perfection, the number of completion in the Bible. But in between, what do we have? Only the most detailed prophetic celestial sign in the history of the world. The Revelation 12 sign. A star constellation combined with the sun and moon and other planetary bodies to fulfill what was written in the Bible in Revelation chapter 12. Now, the Revelation 12 sign was a rapture sign. It had all the hallmarks of the rapture. It even says that the man-child was caught up to the throne. So the word caught up is in that sign. Now, to give more credibility to this Revelation 12 sign, inserted here during this last Trump that we are in, look at the warning that came before 2017 with the moon tetrad between 2014 and 2015. There have been tetrads all throughout history, 8 of them so far. But yet, what was so unique about this one? Not only did this tetrad have a solar eclipse that landed on a Jewish holiday, Nisan 1, but the Star of Bethlehem also showed up as well in the midst of this sign. This only happened one other time during a moon tetrad in history, and it was around the time of the birth of our Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ. So you're saying, why do we need another Star of Bethlehem, Bob? That star of Bethlehem back in 2015 represented a double fulfillment. The first one was that Jesus is coming back. That star showed up once and he showed up on the scene, and it shows up again, he's going to come back. So that's a huge sign. But the Bethlehem star also marks the coming birth of another entity, and that is the bride of Christ. You see, when Jesus comes back, he's bringing the armies of heaven with him. The Bible says it. And who's part of that armies of heaven? It's the bride of Christ. So this man-child who's going to rule this earth with a rod of iron with Jesus Christ as the head, that's the church, guys. That's us. Now, outside of the celestial signs, let's take a look what's going on the earth during this 7-year period, the last. Besides the wars and rumors of wars, record earthquakes, volcanic activity, record famines, record pestilence, returning Nephilim, UFO activity, so on and so forth, wickedness, lawlessness, and deception of all kinds at an all-time high and still climbing.
Martial law has been declared. Whether it was declared due to civil unrest or threats of foreign or because of economic collapse, no longer matters. All that matters now is survival. Ordered to stay in your home until the collection squad come to take you. The people who resist being in the streets. What do? Do you go willingly to the safe camps? Or do you rebel? You hear about other people escaping the city to the wilderness. Do you join them? Or do you hide out in the city scavenging for food? Do you end up starving in the safe camps with the other citizens, herded like cattle? The person is dead.
No other mother should have to be told at any time, definitely not before the holiday, that her son has, and whatever it was, it does not take 5 officers simultaneously tasing a young man.
My daughter, that was my daughter. They may have gotten away with, like I said before, but once they my daughter, they're not gonna rest until justice is served and they don't do it again. This is my goal. This is my goal for all the mothers and all the parents that have to go through this. I mean, you don't know how this feels. Nobody knows how it feels.
With all this insanity going on around us and these prophetic signs in the heavens occurring, you have to ask yourself, what is going on? And is there more to life than just going to a job and coming home? Obviously, there has to be a meaning to this life. Some people maybe want to avoid this topic, but you have to ask yourself, when you're in a situation like we're seeing today, with all these things happening, with the culture radically changing, there has to be something that can explain all this, and there has to be a real answer to why we're here on this planet. Perhaps God is calling out to you and asking you to look into Him and seek Him so that you can be found and that you can survive through this. So I think it makes a lot of sense to be on God's side when going through something like this in the end times than to fall to the devil's trap. Because there's going to be a lot of deception in these end days. And I would ask you to check the link below in the description where I make a case for what I believe is really going on in this world and how you can know God.
An EMP, or electromagnetic pulse, is an electromagnetic discharge that fries sensitive circuits within minutes, even seconds. Most modern-day appliances, the gadgets we use daily, and even the US power grid all have sensitive circuits built in. Think of a normal blackout when you don't have any lights, heating, or internet. Only an EMP blackout is permanent and on a large scale. This means you can also say goodbye to telecommunications, transportation, and even utilities. Silence and darkness. Military command and control, as well as most of the high-tech equipment, is very vulnerable to an EMP. One blast will reduce our army to fighting using that existed before the 1900s. This fulfills Bible prophecy to the letter. It's swift, has a huge area effect, breaks the hammer of the earth, and sets the stage for the assembly of nations to invade. And all it takes is not 100, not even 50, but just one warhead to be detonated above the US, and the effects would be irreversible. EMP device that can be strategically detonated at an altitude of 20 miles above the surface of our country that will permanently cripple our power grid and plunge America into silence and darkness. The real danger of an EMP is it could happen without any sign the King of the North has drilled his soldiers to do exactly that. There's never been so many drill exercises targeting the US in recent history. Putin is preparing to fulfill his role according to the Holy Book. The effects of the EMP will destroy America as we know it, looters, famine, civil unrest, and finally, the foreign invasion. Exactly as the scriptures predicted.
Can you imagine what would happen during an EMP when all the power is out? Just remember what happened during Katrina or the London riots or during Hurricane Sandy. And that's not nearly the worst of it all. CIA Director James Woolsey's public conversation with Republican Senator Ted Cruz led to the shocking realization that 9 out of 10 Americans will be dead by the end of the first year. Our government has been using EMP protection, its continuity plan, since the Cold War. The President and his men are well protected against EMP, including when traveling on Air Force One. However, you, your loved ones, and the things you depend on to live are not protected. Former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Newt Gingrich, has been trying to expose this vulnerability for the last couple of years, but most of his efforts were in vain. EMPs are one of the deadliest threats known to man. You, your family, your loved ones, and our entire nation could be wiped out in a matter of seconds, and no one's doing anything about it. Most solutions you will find on EMPs are just fantasy novels that fail to discuss real answers. They paint a pretty vivid picture of what's going to happen, but so do all the documentaries on EMPs that are out there. On the other hand, there's a bunch of armchair survivalist courses with stupid ideas, like put all your appliances inside a big Faraday cage. But how's that going to help? Things like your iPhone, for instance, will be completely worthless when all the communication networks are down. You have to put yourself and your family first, because nobody else will. That's why you need to start preparing for an EMP now. But the solutions I found left me frustrated. When I realized what my options were, I was absolutely horrified. I was outraged nobody is doing anything about it. And when I found out that the White House is prepared for an EMP themselves, but nothing is done to protect us, the American citizens, I lost it. So finally, I decided to find my own answers. I spent hours in libraries reading books. I watched all the documentaries and interviews I could find. I looked for courses. I talked to all the survival experts I know. I even tried contacting NASA, but I got nothing. Lucky for me, my life was about to change. I almost gave up after spending months poring over research to prepare for an HEMP. Most information was useless. I had nowhere else to go. I was about to throw in the towel, but somehow I couldn't. I thought of my kid, and the picture of him living in a dark age was unbearable. I couldn't just give up. He deserves better than that. My last hope was this peculiar professor I found online, Charles Green. He's an ex-college professor, physicist, and prepper, and he's fully aware of the likelihood of an EMP. He knows the devastating consequences compared to a massive hurricane or even an economic meltdown. That's why he became so obsessed with surviving an EMP that he took a 2-year sabbatical to live in an Amish community. Let me explain. The Amish are a very unusual religious community. Modern life comfort is irrelevant to them. They live simple lives and maintain traditions that go back over 300 years. They grow their own food for their families. They barely use any electricity, and when they do, it's off the grid. They do this because their religion forbids them to. However, it's their choice, and they prefer a life with no distractions. You see, Charles's obsession drove him to a small Amish community in Pennsylvania. He had only one goal: learn to survive and build a community in a post-EMP world, and the Amish are the closest thing to that. Unfortunately, there's no audio or video recordings of Charles's experiences because the Amish forbid the use of any modern gadgets, so the only recordings are notes Charles took. In his notes, Charles described in vivid details the Amish way of life. He discovered plenty of ways to keep your food from spoiling without a fridge, and a secret Amish use to store heat-sensitive medicine, and surprising places where you can find drinkable water enough to sustain your family for months, even if you live in an arid region. Every talk I had with Charles was eye-opening. I never came across anyone so intelligent, knowledgeable, and devoted to the study of EMP survival. He told me virtually all of us, and this includes seniors and kids, can survive without electricity. The only condition is they need to know what to do when the power goes out. Sure, it wouldn't be a luxurious life or even a comfortable life at first, but your family, your loved ones, and even your entire community can stay alive. I was completely humbled by what Charles was showing me. I thought I knew everything about survival when in fact I was just barely scratching the surface. Here's the good news. Charles showed me secrets few preppers, survival experts, or even people know. In fact, there are many things you can do right that will do wonders for you and your family. I was so amazed and thankful of what Charles taught me. I realized that this information had to be available to every family out there. It took some convincing. Actually, I begged and nagged him for weeks, and he finally agreed to put all his hard-earned secrets into a special program. His only conditions were to remain anonymous and to make this available for as many people as possible. We created a one-of-a-kind course on how to survive an EMP. It doesn't matter whether it's a solar flare or an HEMP, you'll be provided with everything to be 100% prepared. Plus, if you're covered for an EMP, you're covered for virtually any. Why? Because a permanent blackout is one of the toughest survival situations you'll face. In fact, an EMP creates this domino effect that triggers multiple disasters at the same time. A food shortage, an economic collapse, and mass pandemics are inevitable. And Charles's one-of-a-kind package, Darkest Days, How to Survive an EMP, actually shows you how to survive all these disasters at once. Charles's program is the only practical guide you'll find on EMP preparedness, and in fact, if you want your family to be safe when an EMP strikes, this is it. It shows you not just how to survive, but also how to flourish after an EMP hits America's reset button, and how to do it all on a tight budget. The truth is, disasters usually happen in the blink of an eye. But lucky for people like you and me, Charles reveals every secret to surviving. Here's a glimpse of what Charles's program covers. You'll discover how to assemble a simple device that will shield your electronics from the EMP, and it does the exact same thing as a $1,499 Faraday cage, simply by using common parts lying around in your kitchen and 17 minutes of your time. And I'll show you what 5 vital electronics you need after an EMP. Missing out any one of these could mean that your family will struggle with the most essential things, like communications, light, and heat. You'll discover secrets from the Amish on how to prevent your food and medicine from spoiling, even if the fridge is down. You'll also know the 7 must-have food and medicine supplies to have when an EMP happens, and exactly how much to store. You'll also know what first aid preps don't get ruined by age. How to keep your family under the radar when an EMP strikes so that hungry and violent looters won't even notice your presence. How to make sure that your car still runs, even though EMP fries car engine circuits. This is important because if you are planning to bug out, without a vehicle it's almost impossible to travel to a safe spot. And if you don't have a bug-out location, I'll show you proven home protection strategies and traps that are guaranteed to keep any looter out of your home. And finally, you'll discover how to keep your appliances running while the entire U.S. power grid is down. There are 3 dirt-cheap ways to make your own energy, and each of them guarantees to keep your electric devices running. And believe it or not, there's more. If you get Darkest Days right now, you'll also receive 2 exclusive reports filled with tips and recommendations to help you with your preps. Keep in mind that this offer will later be off the table. First, you'll get Off-Grid Home Protection Systems, a special report on how to defend your home against violent criminals or looters. It shows you how to keep your home safe without any home protection systems and without any use of electric power. You will find out what are the best dog breeds, and even though it may sound surprising, this guide explains how you can actually protect your home by planting defensive bushes. And in some cases it works even better than a $250 alarm system. And second, you'll get How to Make Your Own Pharmacy, the ultimate guide to survival medicine, a special report that will show you the natural treatment alternatives for a time when no doctors will be around. You'll know what natural remedies you can use, and you'll be able to find them with ease. You'll also find out how to prepare them quickly and the best ways to store them. Plus, when you get Darkest Days, besides both of these bonuses, you'll also be getting unlimited access to the members area, where you can ask Charles and I anything at any time. We will be there to answer your questions and to help you if you need any clarification on anything. But now you might be wondering, how much do you have to pay to get to know all these EMP survival secrets? If sold separately, each one of these bonuses would cost $39, but you can get all of them without spending a dime. How much is it worth to you to be the only reliable man in your community, to be independent, instead of waiting for the government to fix your problems? If this program prepares you for the absolute worst-case scenario, or if this course instantly gives you all the knowledge, power, and resources to overcome not just an EMP, but any type, you'll have the power to protect and save your family, even to rebuild your community during the worst times. Food, water, shelter, electricity, you name it, you'll have it. You and your loved ones will be well protected when an EMP strikes and all the other people are turning into savages. How much is having this kind of information worth to you? I mean, think about all the stuff you spend money on, all your preparations, the food and water you store, security systems. All of them can become useless in a matter of seconds after an EMP hits if you don't know exactly what to do. Charles and I spent over 16 months developing this one-of-a-kind course, and that's not counting the years of research both of us put in. We did our best to make sure this is easy to follow and offers the best solutions for an EMP scenario. Also, this special program shows you exactly what you need to do in any type of disaster. By getting this guide, you're covered for anything. You'll never have to spend money on any prepping material anymore. Just think about the amount of money you're spending just on food. The average stockpile for a family of 4 for only 3 months costs about $1,900. That's just 3 months. If you truly want to be secure, you probably need a 5-year supply at least. And it can all go to waste if you don't know the right thing to do. And it's not only about the money. Think of all the time and effort you're putting into it. You don't deserve to lose it all in the blink of an eye. We've asked some expert preppers what they think of the course, and most of them said they'd pay up to $500 for it. We've thought of doing that. We could have created a weekend workshop and charged $500 a seat or more. With Charles's teaching background, it would be the best choice. But you're not going to have to pay that today. For Charles, this isn't about making money. If it was, he wouldn't be living in an Amish community. He is truly dedicated to doing the right thing. Sure, we like getting paid for our hard work, but this is not what it's about. It's not about making a huge profit. It's about helping people out. So that's exactly why this program isn't going to cost you $500. It's not even going to cost you $250. Charles and I agreed that we wanted this to be available to as many people as possible. So that's why, if this video is still up, you can get Darkest Days, How to Survive an EMP. You'll have the power to protect your home and family against anything for just a one-time special offer of $37. The only way to get it is to click the Add to Cart button now. For just $37, you'll get a copy of the Darkest Days, and you'll know not only how to survive an EMP, but also a food shortage, a mass pandemic, an economic meltdown, and violent riots all at the same time. You'll even know what to do in case the government goes AWOL or in case they declare martial law. You can only get Darkest Days here if you click the Add to Cart button now. This course will not be available anywhere else, and there's no way of telling how much longer this presentation is going to be up.